lessons in agriculture and agro-processing, dairy and animal husbandry. With market potential of more than 1 billion Africans and gross domestic product of $2.5 trillion, experts say Nigeria cannot afford not to join the African continent free trade area. Now, this was the submission at a sensitization workshop organized by Nigeria Institute of Advanced Legal Studies in Abuja. Ali Utukuru reports.
Africa has 30% of the global mineral deposits, but contributes only 2.5% to the global GDP. In 2012, African leaders, to reverse this trend, established African Continental Free Trade Area in order to create a single market for goods and services, as well as free movement of business persons and investment across the continent. About 44 nations out of the 55 African countries signed the treaty, and Nigeria is among those that did not sign.
Well, I don't think we're missing anything. The president felt and decided correctly and rightly, in my view as the chief negotiator, that we should engage nationally with all the stakeholders, industry-wise, sectorally, and across the country, get them to understand it, prod them to raise the questions they have regarding how we can improve the business environment in Nigeria so that they would leverage on the opportunities and the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
So in having these kinds of conversations, we have more understanding between government, between organized private sector, so that when eventually the CFTA is signed by Nigeria, implementation is given.
The consultations will continue across the country, after which a report will be submitted to the government for necessary action. In Abuja, Ali Utuku, NTA News.
Tourism in Nigeria, if well harnessed, is capable of contributing immensely to the economy and generating revenue for growth and development of the country. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed said this while receiving the technical consultant to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, David McEwen, in his office. Laure Bala Hassan has more.
Nigeria is a country endowed and very rich in cultural tourism, with so many historical sites to visit. It is against this background that the United Nations World Tourism Organization visited the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, to provide the ministry with statistics to enable them make policy decisions and planning for intended objectives in tourism, as well as the way forward on tourism.
Tourism coordination and cooperation, I don't think there's any industry that needs more coordination and cooperation than tourism, because one part of it the airlines can't do without the accommodation can't do without the airlines, and then there's a huge number of people involved.
The minister, who was delighted on the purpose of their visit, promised to do everything possible to give the team an enabling environment for tourism to thrive in the country.
Everybody agrees that without planning, there can be little or no development. And what you need in tourism to plan really is actually statistics. And this is the major problem we have today in tourism.
The tourism statistician David McEwen also intimated the minister on other programs coming up within the week. In Abuja, Laure Bala Hassan, NTA News.
Now, the New Progressives movement says it has resolved not to participate in the July 2018 Ekiti governorship election, but will rather concentrate on sensitizing Nigerians on the manifesto of the party ahead of the 2019 general election. National chairman of the party, Mustafa Gasso, announced this at the National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
On 26th of May, we are going to be holding our national convention.
This is the first National Executive Council meeting of the newly registered political party. Members unanimously agreed not to hurriedly move into contesting political offices without having a solid structure across the states of the Federation.
Ekiti, we are not participating, but Oshun.
On the state of the nation, NEC condemned recent disturbances in some parts of the country, calling on perpetrators to turn new leaf as the unity of the country is turned above every other consideration.
We have to keep the difference of religion, tribe, culture, and move together.
NEC also enjoined Nigerian youths to channel energies toward productive ventures rather than tendencies that threaten the peaceful coexistence of the people. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And ahead of the 2019 election, members of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, ACPN, have converged on Ilorin, Kwara State capital to launch the party's manifesto. Abdulwahid Bibere reports.
Addressing the party faithfuls, the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, ACPN, National Chairman Abdulgani Galadima, emphasized that the party's manifesto have been carefully structured to meet the yearnings and
Marshal Boboye has called on construction workers on the country's
of a bill to further make the act, the Federal Road Safety Code Act, more effective to addressing these issues.
The meeting was meant to review the Corps' performance in its strategic goals within the last 4 months to sustain efficiency and commitment to service delivery in the country. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
As President Buhari meets his U.S. counterpart at Debola Brooksland Sunday, takes a look at the relations between the two countries.
Nigeria and the United States, no doubt, are the giants in their continents. The two countries are members of the same international organizations, including the United Nations, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and World Trade Organization. United States is rated the largest foreign investor in Nigeria, with U.S. foreign direct investment concentrated largely in petroleum, mining, and trade. On the other hand, U.S. imports from Nigeria include cocoa, rubber, and food extracts. United States and Nigeria have deep and strong ties, reinforced in the just concluded Nigeria-United States Binational Commission meeting held in Abuja last year. In 2016, Nigeria and the U.S. signed a bilateral trade and investment framework agreement.
We know that the requirements for export into America are very stringent. Nigeria has not been able to meet those stringent conditions, but we tend to see a little bit of flame.
Ambassador Nkoyo Toyo believes that Nigeria can tap into all sorts of benefits from the U.S.
If you listen to what Bill Gates had to say, his whole talk, as it were, when he visited Nigeria was on how we can build the skills of the future. I think that's an area we can tap into what Bill Gates talked about. How can America provide more skills?
Our president is the first African president to be received in the White House.
Ambassador Ayo Adigun is a diplomat and former Nigeria ambassador to Liberia. He described President Buhari's meeting with President Trump as reassuring and from all fronts, applause to Nigeria.
Now, Donald Trump went ahead. I don't think he sees Nigeria as capable. Now he's going to sell 4 Tucano combat aircraft. That is 486 aircraft. With this aircraft, the capacity for surveillance and attack on the Boko Haram terrorists are further enhanced. This is a cooperation, a sort of military cooperation. Then economically, there are lots of things. Cooperation, in Africa, Nigeria is very important, large market, and it has potential for business. So we want more economic trade and investment between.
President Muhammadu Buhari will meet business specialists after the talk with President Donald Trump.
Growth and reforms, fighting terrorism and other threats to peace and security, and building on Nigeria's role as a diplomatic leader in Africa are some of the focal areas President Buhari will be discussing with Donald Trump of United States. Adebola, Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Thank you, Adebola. We're looking forward to that. Now, let's get to the latest sports now. Nigeria progress in 2018 ITTF champions in Sweden as action returns in UEFA Champions League Tuesday. Dane Desani is our guide on sports update.
seaside babes of Lagos.
The skills, the resourcefulness, and all these things that you have noticed during your visit here exactly a year ago, Richard. And they really took him to task over those comments to say, we are waiting for you, President Buhari, to do your part. Give us stable electricity, give us good infrastructure, and we will do the rest. So this is a trip that is being keenly watched. Of course, the president is zoning out the noise. He has a clear agenda, which is for his re-election, which is economic reform and security. Nigeria is facing security issues in the north, in the northeast, with Boko Haram, which is nearly a decade, and also increasing.
Let me just interrupt you here, Stephanie. Let me just interrupt you here, Stephanie. I want to turn to Eleni Giakos in Johannesburg. Pull the strands together for me, if you would, between what Nigeria wants and the state of the economy in Nigeria, which of course will improve because the oil price has risen. It's a petrodollar currency, but still doesn't alleviate the overarching issues within that economy.
You got it, Richard. Oil, that's one of the biggest things that's going to be on the Buhari-Trump agenda. Remember, Nigeria exports a significant amount of oil to the United States. The United States is flooding Europe and other markets with its oil. Trump is against what OPEC is doing. Nigeria is stuck in the middle. Buhari trying to get economic growth back on track. And he's got a nickname in the country, Baba Go Slow. And that means that he's just been so slow to implement change in the country. And now he's going to have to speed things up, and maybe Trump can help him, Richard, get him onto the international stage, push for security, push for trying to get more trade into that country. And Nigeria and the United States, interestingly, has a trade deficit. The United States imports more Nigerian goods than what the Nigerian does. It's also a race between the US and China. It's going to be quite an interesting conversation. And Richard, I'm going to be watching the body language. I want to see that shake hand. At the end of the day, Buhari is a former military guy. It's going to be strategic. It's going to be an interesting one, but largest economy on the continent, largest oil producer in Africa. He's got to get this relationship right, because Buhari can benefit from a Trump that will be on his side.
And Stephanie, finally to you, what does a successful meeting look like for Nigeria?
A successful meeting. President Buhari is there to also ask for more support for this insurgency, which I've talked about. America has recently sold security equipment to Nigeria, but President Buhari is there to really show up more American support and also sign agreements with US businesses and bring more investment into the country. So those are the really key things that we'll be watching out for.
All right, thank you. Stephanie's in Lagos, Eleni is in Johannesburg. We will talk more in the next hours. In fact, the joint press conference with the two presidents happens in the next hour at around 1:30 Eastern Time, which is roughly an hour from now. When we come back in just a moment, we're going to look at the question of the Avengers. How much money can Disney bring in, and at what point will it start to reflect in the share price? Disney is up today by about 1.5%. But
For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
NTA brings you the best of entertainment.
I thought I was being sarcastic. I went on to do other productions. I think this movie.
Everything music.
Hear which one you say.
If you look at the platforms of particular products.
They call a new school playing.
That's in the house, we go carry
the air go come dey
Jesus.
Somebody sad, you feel it.
I love you. Then we just neutral. I know it's this. Chop, they are already washed.
It is all a mindset.
To a president.
What else can I do with a shower for and dancers?
Watch these programs and more on NTA Entertainment Channel 105 on Star Times. NTAE, your one-stop entertainment channel.
Codeine cough syrup is creating an opioid addiction crisis in Nigeria. At least 3 million bottles are drunk every day. But how does the syrup get from pharmaceutical companies to drug dealers? Undercover journalist Roni Meyer exposes the criminals behind the scam and the damage being done to millions of young people. Africa Eye, sweet, sweet codeine. Nothing stays hidden forever.
There was network news in which every station sent something to Lagos newsroom, and it was then edited or put together and put out. Also, we began to carry an occasional program subscribed by any one of the stations. And that's how Village Headmaster became a network program even before NTA started in effect. Alawada from the west, Samanja from the north, and Masquerade from the east. They were all carried, I think, 1 a week, even before NTA really took off as one entity. So there was that kind of cooperative, collaborative effort under NBC TV until NTA took off. So the law of NTA was essentially put together by the GMs of NTA. The federal government gave the outline. The law was going to abolish.
Some parts of the country took center stage at the National Economic Council meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Having come together with several deliberations, the technical subcommittee set up by the National Economic Council Working Group has recommended the adoption of ranching in some parts of the state affected by these clashes as a sustainable solution to the conflict. The states are Zamfara, Nasarawa, Adamawa, Taraba, and Benue states. The working group also recommended that the states governments of the 5 affected states allocate land for this purpose in this next report.
The federal government of Nigeria has approved the establishment of ranches for livestock production in 5 states, which are Jigawa, Zamfara, Benue, Taraba, and Adamawa states, respectively. The governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahiwa, addressed State House correspondents after the meeting, said the committee recognized 3 categories of foreign, nomadic, and immigrant herdsmen, and therefore agreed that movement of livestock must be condemned in totality. He added that strategies must be put in place to improve the lives of local herdsmen through provision of educational and medical facilities within the vicinity of the ranches.
Touring through the states, we made it very clear to all the stakeholders that those that committed this crime must be prosecuted. And already a number of them, have been, arrested, and they have been prosecuted in the various states. So I can assure you that the security agencies are, doing a lot about, tracking them and prosecuting them.
So today I said to the media, this thing looks no more like herdsmen and farmers clashes. It's looking like an extension of Boko Haram. Because if you go to a church, you kill priests and members in the morning. And there's no cattle you are coming around with. You just arrive, take people by surprise, or you go to an IDP camp where people are returning to their villages, and just 2 a.m. you shoot everybody and march on. Something more sinister is going on.
Lagos State Deputy Governor Idayat Adebule further briefed on the address by the Accountant General of the Federation to Council and an update of the Economic and Growth Plan Model Labs as presented by the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning.
To the Accountant General of the Federation, the balance in the excess growth accounts as of April the 23rd, 2018 stands at 1,829,862,047.
On the issue of the $1 billion withdrawn from the excess crude account for security purpose and purchase of aircrafts, Jigawa State Governor spoke on behalf of Council on the matter.
Federal government tried, we couldn't get. The Americans still couldn't sell to Nigeria. Then luckily, the president said it's okay to buy. That's President Trump. So we have to quickly buy before they change their mind. Because there is also a deadline, and this is state-to-state transaction, no middleman. And we are all here concerned about security. And they're raising questions on how and manner on which you protect people. This is an emergency situation.
6 states made presentations to the National Economic Council on how successful they have been in the area of agricultural production as a means of youth empowerment and job creation, among other economic chains.
The Vice President also had a meeting with the ECOWAS Commission with major interest on the Nigerian borders after this break.
My name is Ekaite Udoma. I'm 48 years this year, to the glory of God. I'm from Ikore local government in Akwa Ibom State. This school presently where we are is called Methodist Primary School. Ikot Abia-Idem in Ikore for this local government. And you see some of the children when they come in, even those of them that don't come with plates, I make sure I provide plates for them. I come with plates and spoons from my house. So forget to bring, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't eat. So it is our place to provide place for them. When they finish eating, I take them home and wash, so that this program will continue. We are so happy about it. And I want God to praise the federal government. And I said, federal government, thank you. Our President Buhari, thank you. God bless you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari, as represented by Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has called for the activation and strict compliance with protocols of the Economic Community of West African States that relates to movement of persons and goods in the region as a way to tackle violent conflicts between herders and farmers at a meeting with the ECOWAS Commission on how best to secure the Nigerian borders. In this report, the meeting informed by the need to adopt a coordinated regional approach in addressing the escalation of cases of conflicts between herders and farmers. I will be back.
Represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, President Muhammadu Buhari said failure to fully follow and enforce the terms of the 1979 Protocol of the Free Movement of Persons, Goods, Capital and Services and the 1998 Protocol relating to Transborder Human Movement has contributed to conflict that has bedeviled the region. He stated that Nigeria can no longer tolerate undocumented movement of persons and animals that simply contribute to escalation of Nigeria's security challenges. President Muhammadu Buhari called for tracking of movements, compliance with ECOWAS protocols, and activation of their relevant sections. He urged the member countries of regional body not to allow the noble vision of the founding fathers and that of regional integration to be derailed by the failure to comply with the safeguards and conditions that they in their wisdom embedded in these protocols.
For example, it is clear that the grazing of cattle along long distances, the whole transhumance experience needs to be reviewed in favor of ranching. Everywhere in the world, transhumance, or simply the seasonal grazing of cattle, was where it all started. But that's not necessarily how it must continue. It became clear that the most productive way of breeding cattle is not to walk them long distances, but to provide well-equipped ranches.
In his address of welcome, Minister of Interior Abdulrahman Dambazo said both farmers and herders were important for food security and economic development of the region. He said the implementation of the ECOWAS protocols on the movement of people across borders was imperative because of the need to guarantee peace and security of the region.
Both herders and farmers are very important for the regional efforts towards food security. And the more the conflicts between them escalate, the more the reduction in the opportunities of guaranteeing food security. This meeting is therefore intended to find effective ways of coordinating various responses to these challenges posed by these conflicts.
Minister of Agriculture Adobe said Nigeria was proposing a solution to the herders-farmers conflict that is aimed at ending an old culture. He said the region must be thinking of putting all cattle in large reserves or large clusters of ranches where they will be supplied with the grass and water they need and secure them against rustlers. His foreign affairs counterpart added that the time to act is now.
Cattle move across borders from one country to another in search of grass, otherwise called fodder, and water. They come in hundreds of thousands. But then they end up invading farms, eating up crops, and sometimes when challenged, the herders seem to turn their guns on the farm owners. They shoot and kill, sometimes wiping out whole communities.
So it's something we have to look at. Of course, there's a security aspect of it. You can have, and the conflict resolution aspect. You can have, possible conflicts, but there are different ways of resolving those conflicts and addressing those conflicts. And it does not have to always end up in the tragedy, the unacceptable tragedies that we are seeing more and more of.
Agriculture's contribution to poverty reduction is sometimes thought to be small, and strong agricultural growth, particularly increased productivity, has been a feature of countries that have agricultural production and economic growth in Nigeria. It cannot be overemphasized that agriculture contributes to poverty reduction because it provides employment to people who have also generally low skills and education. Growth in agriculture also contributes to greater supply of foodstuff and lower food prices, and benefits both rural and urban. With the pressure to attain the MGDS, it is important to investigate the contribution of the sector to Nigeria's economic growth in the special reports.
Leading the people comes with its challenges. Those challenges are usually the assignments to which the leadership is tasked to solve. The solutions are products of experience and in some cases leveraging on the experience of experts to make society better. Thus much has been the approach of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in tackling the challenges that have confronted the nations as it steers the ship of the Nigerian state in the last 3 years. Bold and difficult decisions are part of this process. Most times, time-tested measures come with details which are never assembled in a short while. Thinking through the processes to meet the demand and needs, especially for a society as diverse and active as ours in Nigeria, the solutions searches must be thorough, fair, and equitable.
The core causes of the conflict, as we were made to understand, were mainly due to perception and, of course, our media friends, competition for scarce resources, and then banditry, or what you can call pure criminal activities through cattle rustling, kidnapping, and so on.
That has been the work in the background by the federal government following the directive of President Muhammadu Buhari and supervised by the Office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In recent times, one of the security problems that has confronted the Nigerian nation is that of armed bandits and militias in their homes over resources conflicts. The federal government acted by setting up the National Economic Council Technical Committee with 9 governors as members, including the Ministers of Interior and Defense, to prevent season killings by armed bandits suspected to be herdsmen. Getting to work, the committee set up a 3-man subcommittee comprising of the governors of Ebonyi, Adamawa and Plateau State, with other secretary staff to tour the troubled states of Benue, Nasarawa, Taraba, Adamawa and Plateau. After 7 months of the tour of the states, they made their findings.
We look at the nomadic herdsmen that during the dry season they travel from up north down to south, and this create conflict. And of course, also foreign herdsmen, coming all the way from neighboring countries, and traveling through the farmlands also create a conflict. And of course, we have the migrant herdsmen that have, migrated for a very long time and settled with the villagers and mixed up with them, even intermarried with them. So these are the three categories of the herdsmen we have in Nigeria. We agree that, movement is not either profitable to the herdsman, because the herdsman values, the milk from the cow, even more than the cow itself, so that the movement is not healthy for the cows. It dries up the meat and then gives less than 2 liters of milk per cow per day. So we condemn the issue of foreign invasion by the foreign herdsmen. And we also agree that this movement also by the nomadic herdsmen, has to stop. And, and occasionally also the immigrants, those who, have settled, who migrated, from other parts of the country into various locations, like the Middle Belt and the South. They sometimes also go into conflict with farmers because of movement of their cows.
The findings are revealing what may appear a simple common day knowledge, but for the deliberate inquiry of the root causes of the troubling situations in parts of the country, especially at agrarian areas. Then the moment for difficult situation comes. National security comes first. It dictates the rush of the country in negotiating existing or reviewing already signed protocol. This is understandable because only a secured Nigeria can honor protocols, needless one that hurts the very foundation of a people's common existence.
We looked at the foreign herdsmen that come in due to the treaty, and we continue to say that the treaty is not being properly implemented, because for any herdsman to come from outside Nigeria into Nigeria, there should be a kind of certification. There must be later. Even though you're not coming with a visa, but you must have to also be, you have to travel with some, what we call ECOWAS documentations. And the animals that are coming to the country ought to be quarantined.
To deal with the issue permanently, the federal government moves to strengthen its already activated economic development programs that address the issues of poverty and youth employment, which is fuel for youth restiveness in any society. Explaining the impacts so far made by the agricultural revolution in the country, the Minister of Agriculture, Adogba, points to the positive impacts the programs on agriculture have taken in reshaping the employment status of the nation and empowerment of the farmers and the people.
The job creation exercise, the reduction in imports, and the fact that in the last 1.5 years, agricultural exports have grown by 150%. And we are finally a nation that imports less than we export. That has not been the case for nearly 3 decades. So we now export more than we import.
They've got to change, and they've got to change now, for the safety of our country. We're also helping our Nigerian partners by facilitating intelligence, cooperation, and providing training and military equipment to Nigerian forces. For example, we recently sold Nigeria 12 U.S. 829 Super Katana aircraft. It's great aircraft. In the first ever sale of American military equipment to Nigeria. These new aircraft will improve Nigeria's ability to target terrorists and protect civilians. Finally, we're deeply concerned by religious violence in Nigeria, including the burning of churches and the killing and persecution of Christians. It's a horrible story. We encourage Nigeria and the federal, state, and local leaders to do everything in their power to immediately secure the affected communities and to protect innocent civilians of all faiths, including Muslims and including Christians. Mr. President, thank you again for visiting the White House and being with us today. Nigeria is a valued partner and a good friend. I look forward to working closely with you to deepen our cooperation and forge an even closer partnership. The United States is committed to working alongside Nigeria as we seek a future of strength, prosperity, and peace for both of our countries. Mr. President, thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen of the media, it has been a pleasure and honor to visit Washington, D.C. at the kind invitation of President Donald Trump. Nigeria and the United States share a long history of close and cordial relations which encompass political, economic, military, social, and cultural cooperation. Our two countries maintain a strategic partnership for peace and security, conflict resolution, as well as the fight against terrorism. We also share common features as secular federal states practicing a similar democratic model of governance and committed to the universal values of fundamental human rights and freedoms, free enterprise, social justice, and the rule of law. President Trump and his team and myself and the Nigerian team discussed issues related to trade, governance, human rights, and humanitarian crisis. We congratulated the leaders of the North and South Korea on their historic summit, and we applaud them for the positive commitment they have made towards denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. President Trump deserves a great deal of credit for his statesmanly role in transforming so dramatically the course of events in that region. We also congratulated the United States government on the important role it played in the defeat of ISIS, although some of the remnants have found their way to the Sahel region. We recognize the strong United States support in our fight against terrorism and also appreciated very much the United States agreement to sell 12 Super Tucano A-29 warplanes and weapons to Nigeria to effectively fight terrorism. To contain the spirit of insurgency in Nigeria, the federal government has adopted a multi-sectorial approach involving related government agencies to address the socio-economic and political dimensions, while the armed forces of Nigeria assist the civil authority to provide security and maintain law and order. As part of efforts to address emerging cases of insurgency in the country, the Nigerian military adopted counter-terrorism insurgency approach codenamed Operation Safe Corridor to de-radicalize, rehabilitate, and reintegrate willingly surrendered Boko Haram members into the larger society. This program is currently embarking on a number of projects, including skill acquisition centers and integrated farms comprising poultry, fish pond, and greenhouse farming, among others. A number of international partners, including the International Organization for Migration, have contributed to the success of Operation Safe Corridor. We indicated that we would appreciate whatever support we could also get from the United States. We express gratitude to the United States support in the reconstruction and rehabilitation efforts in the northeast of Nigeria, as well as humanitarian assistance to the internally displaced person through agencies such as the United States Agency for International Development and other international partners. The United States of America has been to date the biggest contributor to the humanitarian response, and last year gave approximately $500 million US in cash and in kind contribution through the United Nations and other intergovernmental organizations. These have mainly supported protection activities, health, food assistance, and shelter. We are doing all we can to secure the release of the remaining abducted school girls from Depchi and Chibok. In this context, we will continue to welcome United States collaboration in intelligence gathering, hostage negotiations, and information sharing. The government is taking necessary steps to promote the peaceful coexistence of herdsmen and farmers by focusing on boosting security and enforcing legislation that will guarantee borders and farmers access to land. I extend sincere congratulations to President Trump and his government on the impressive performance of the United States economy under his watch. Our aim is to diversify our own economy by focusing on agriculture and food security, power and infrastructure. We have cut the importation of rice by 90%, thereby saving a significant amount of money. We very much welcome increased United States investment in Nigerian economy, especially the non-oil sector. Economic relations between Nigeria and the United States are anchored on three major instruments, namely the Binational Commission, Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, and the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. The Binational Commission in particular, comprising bilateral, political, economic, developmental, and humanitarian partnership, is a basic economic framework for engagement between our two countries. Nigeria's trade volume with the United States stood at $6.07 billion United States dollars according to 2016 statistics, and comprised $4.76 billion United States dollars worth of Nigerian export to the United States and $1.894 billion United States dollars exports to Nigeria. We urge greater effort to increase these figures substantially. We thank the United States government very much for cooperation we have received in our effort to recover stolen funds. Our two governments have put the machinery in place for their respective attorney generals to collaborate in ensuring the return to Nigeria of over 500 million United States dollars of looted funds siphoned away in banks around the world. In this connection, we congratulate the United States government on launching a kleptocracy asset recovery initiative, which was spearheaded by the United States Department of Justice Asset Forfeiture and Money Laundering. We hoped that we could continue to count on United States support in this area. The government of Nigeria remains deeply committed to the principles of human rights as well as promotion and protection of people's freedom, even in the process of fighting terror. We commit to ensure that all documented cases of human rights abuses are investigated and those responsible for violation held responsible. I thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Steve Miller of the Washington Times, please. Washington Times. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. President. Had a two-parter on immigration. Last week, in the Supreme Court case over your travel ban, the lawyers for the opponents said that if you would simply apologize for some of your rhetoric during the campaign, the whole case would go away. And I was wondering if you
I don't think it would, number one. And there's no reason to apologize. Our immigration laws in this country are a total disaster. They're laughed at all over the world. They're laughed at for their stupidity. And we have to have strong immigration laws. So I think if I apologize, it wouldn't make 10 cents worth of difference to them. There's nothing to apologize for. We have to have strong immigration laws to protect our country.
And looking to the future, the caravan has arrived at the U.S. border.
We've been watching it. We've been watching it.
And I'm just wondering, in your opinion, of your estimation, what percentage of those people do you believe are deserving of asylum in the U.S.?
Well, I won't get into percentages, but we are a nation of laws. We have to have borders. We don't have borders, we don't have a country. And I've been watching for weeks as the caravan came up. And you know, the Mexican laws are very tough on immigration, extremely tough. And it started out with way over 1,000 people. I guess now it's down to about 100 going all through Mexico. People don't realize what a big country Mexico is, but it came down by a lot. And now we're working on the border with the worst laws any country, no matter where you go, all over the world. They can't even believe it. And we're doing the best we can with it. But we have to have changes in Congress, and we have to have it quickly. We need a wall, number one. And you see that right now, you know, where they are, even though it's not a particularly good wall, and even though a small percentage can climb to the top, they have to be in extremely good shape. But a small percentage can climb that particular wall. We have a wall that's much more difficult. But if you didn't have that, you'd have thousands of people just pouring into our country. You got to have a wall. And we need border security. And we will have border security. As you know, we're sending many, many National Guardsmen down to the border. Most of them are already there. And that's having a big impact. But we need a change in the law. Catch and release is ridiculous. If they touch our property, if they touch our country, essentially you catch them and you release them into our country. That's not acceptable to anybody. So we need a change in the law.
Mr. President, when you were sitting down in the Oval Office with President Trump, who ran on not wanting to be the policeman for the world, what kind of arguments did you make to convince him to continue a military presence for the U.S. in your country, and what arguments did you make to him? How receptive was he?
I can't understand what you mean by United States presence in my country. They send a training team. There's experiences our officers at some of our training institutions and move to the crisis area to see how those they train are performing. I think this is one of the best things the United States could do for us to stabilize the country.
And you agreed with that?
I do, very much so. That's why I thank him for it.
Thank you.
Well, we more and more are, because it's a very fair question, we more and more are not wanting to be the policemen of the world. And we spend tremendous amounts of money for decades on policing the world, and that shouldn't be our priority. We want to police ourselves, and we want to rebuild our country. And the president understands that, and they've come a long way. They're doing a great job. We're contributing to that job, but they have done a great job. What we do want to do, though, is open Nigeria and other countries up to trade, because we have spent over the last decade a number that's so large you wouldn't even believe it. And I think we'll be treated in a reciprocal fashion now, as of today, so I think that's going to happen. And I have great respect for the president, okay? How about Jordan Fabian? Where's Jordan? Jordan, the Hill?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask you about Iran. The Israeli Prime Minister just gave a speech very critical of their nuclear program. I want to ask if you have made up your mind to pull out of that deal, and if you do pull out of that deal, are you worried that sends the wrong message to North Korea as you seek to enter nuclear talks with Kim Jong-un?
No, I think it sends the right message. You know, in 7 years, that deal will have expired, and Iran is free to go ahead to create nuclear weapons. That's not acceptable. 7 years is tomorrow. That's not acceptable. So no, if anything, it's proven right what Israel has done today with the news conference. And Prime Minister Netanyahu just gave a very, I don't know if everybody's seen it, but I got to see a little bit of it. And that is just not an acceptable situation. And I've been saying that's happening. They're not sitting back idly. They're setting off missiles, which they say are for television purposes. I don't think so. So we'll see what happens. I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but a lot of people think they know. And on or before the 12th, we'll make a decision. That doesn't mean we won't negotiate a real agreement. You know, this is an agreement that wasn't approved by too many people. And it's a horrible agreement for the United States, including the fact Mr. President, that we gave Iran 150...
I not do again, Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
NTA2Lagos Network Center brings you broadcast service wherever and whenever through our social media platforms, now live on just a click away. Global news, sports, business reports, politics, issues, events and happenings around the world, your favorite past and present TV programs, drama, documentaries, and foreign news headlines. Log on to www.youtube.com/NTA2Lagos. Watch, download, comment, and subscribe free. It's simply www.NTA2Lagos and explore our world of news and events. Available in all smartphones, iPads, and all Android phones. Like our Facebook page, NTA2Lagos Network Center. You can tweet us at NTA2LNC. NTA2Lagos Network Center, your reach out station.
Who has both experience and knowledge to give you insight that can help drive your own business profitability.
Business Matters, a platform to air your business. Conferences, seminars, workshops, training and updates in the capital markets. Also in Business Matters, in-depth analysis covering all aspects of the economy.
We talk to all these development banks. What they will always think that the companies are not ready to access funding. Not because they don't have money, but the companies are not ready.
Are you a small business owner? Avail yourself of this opportunity to advertise your product on a spotlight on small and medium-scale businesses. Business Matters, every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Learn, act, and do business on NTA2Lagos Network Center. Business Matters, showcasing your business for increased productivity and profit. Don't miss it.
Hold it! Me, I don't come out my hand from oil bunkering.
General, what you going to yarn? What did the yarn say? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants said, you know good. Me, I not do again, Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a tiring day? Lagos Resource Center is it, a place of hospitality and relaxation, an interaction center for retreats, AGMs, lectures, conferences, social activities for corporate bodies, individuals and religious groups. The Lagos Resource Center offers you various range of rooms such as standard, deluxe, semi-suites and suites for your comfort. Try out our pastries, Nigerian and international dishes as our Bethany kitchen makes you ask for more. Our hall of various sizes are fully equipped with state-of-the-art facilities and up-to-date training equipment. We also offer professional outdoor catering services, all to your taste and delight. Visit our beautiful chapel for your meditation and prayers after a busy day. You can locate us at 9 Anifowoshe Street off Adiola Odeku Street or Kofu Abayomi Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. For further inquiries, call 070-3314-1149 or 080-7502-8582. Email recenter@yahoo.co.uk. Lagos Resource Center, relaxation, serenity and hospitality at its peak.
A treat today, make the rain fall, keep the desert away. Let us plant a tree today, make the rain fall, keep erosion away.
The climate's changing because of burning oil and cutting down forests. Climate change will give our children floods, hunger, drought and poverty. Trees give oxygen, rain and shelter. Let's make Nigeria green again and plant trees to secure our children's future.
Let us plant a tree today.
Do you want to make that corporate and social function memorable? Then what and where on NTA2Lagos Network Center is it? Showing every Sunday at 7 p.m. For participation and advert placement, please contact the producer on 070-657-25849 or call our marketing department on 070-5079-2441. What and where? Garnishing your event to engage the eyeballs.
Network Center,
who has both experience and knowledge to give you insight that can help drive your own business profitability.
Business Matters, a platform to air your business summits, conferences, seminars, work training and updates in the capital markets. Also in Business Matters, in-depth analysis covering all aspects of the economy.
You talk to all these development banks, what do you always think that the companies are not ready to access funding? Not because they don't have money, but the companies are not ready.
Are you a small business owner? Avail yourself of this opportunity to advertise your product on a spotlight on small and medium-scale businesses. Business Matters, every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Learn, talk, act, and do business on NTA2Lagos Network Center. Business Matters, showcasing your business for increased productivity and profit. Don't miss it.
TVS Records. People come and go in this crazy world. Life is fast and slow, with its twists and turns. Flashing lights on TV screens, the women with fast cars, faces on the magazine, the life of a rock star. When you follow in your dream, you've got to be strong. That is what the people say when you sing into the world. I'm running my mind, passion and I'm walking away. To such an ignorance. I'm running my mind, passion and I'm walking away. To such an ignorance. Yeah. Let the music take control. Let the beat hit your score. To the song, from Africa to the world. I'm running my mind, passion and I'm walking away. From Africa to the world. Yeah, from Africa to the world. In the morning to the night, play me reggae and calypso. Mr. DJ plays. Play the music from my people. Bounce along, bounce along. This is very people in the bounce. Play the song. We can sing along, yeah. Flashing lights on TV screens, the women with fast cars, faces on the magazine, the life of a rock star. When you follow in your dreams, you've got to be strong. That is what the people say when you sing into the world. I'm running my mind, passion and I'm walking away. To such an ignorance. I'm Let the music take control. Let the beat reach your soul. As you listen to the song, from Africa to the world. From Africa to the world, yeah. From Africa to the world. Network Center.
Live your life in color with the trusted paint brand that offers the widest range of colors and delivers a professional finish. And now you can picture it before you paint it with the free Dulux Nigeria app. Live your life in color. Dulux, let's color.
Alright, you're welcome. It's UAC Love Hour. I'm sure that from what you've seen, you would know that today is indeed a day for serious business because we are discussing NEPA, we are discussing PHCN, we are discussing light, we are discussing power, we are discussing energy. Whatever name you choose to call it, that is the fundamental issue that we are discussing today. NEPA officials, PHCN officials, light in Nigeria, light up Nigeria, electricity for all by the year 2010. No, it's even before 2010. It was electricity for all by the year 2000. Now it is 2011. There's no electricity for even some. How much more all? Okay, as you saw in the skit that happened, there's a whole lot of madness, and somebody was telling me a joke. Maybe I should share it with you people. People were arguing amongst themselves that which is the first profession on earth. A doctor came and said, look, medicine is the first profession on earth because the first thing that God did medically was to create woman from the ribs of a man. So God did surgery. So God, you know, is a medical doctor. So somebody else came and said, no, there's no way that medicine can be the first profession in the on earth. That the first profession was engineering. An engineer came and said, you know what? When the Bible says that, you know, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was without form, the earth was without form and void, and God separated night and day. Say, engineering, the principle of separation is in engineering. You separate night from day. So engineering is the first profession. But some random man just came from nowhere with helmet and said, you people, you are joking. They said, why? He said, because the first profession in this earth is NEPA profession. They said, how? Why? He said, no. He said, because when God said, let there be light, it was NEPA people that laid the cable. So today, we have a NEPA official in the studio. Oga, you are welcome. Is it true that NEPA people laid the cable when God said, let there be light?
Well, that's how our ancestors did it, because we are doing a nice job now. They set the foundation very well.
Okay, let us even go.
Because I like your talk is very interesting. I was just there, and
it's very interesting if you consider the increments that you people are carrying out. PHCN, some people are still used to calling you NEPA. PHCN is just raising tariffs anyhow, 22% on innocent Nigerians. The light that we do not even have, and yet you are increasing tariff. What do you have to say about that?
The cost of production is
what are you producing?
You see, the voltage you people get from here, you get here eventually as end users. You don't know how it comes about.
Yeah, there's 24 hours in a day. Sometimes it is by miracle that we get light out of that 24 hours. And there are some areas that even 365 days in a week, they probably 365 days in a year, they all probably have light just for the 65 days within the year.
No, we carry everybody along. You see, you have to be diplomatic when you find yourself in situations like this. You know, you have high-end users, you have low-end users. You should also talk about those who don't like.
Is that why the high-end users are now to pay with the new tariff that is being implemented from the 1st of July? Is that why high-end users are to start paying 15 naira 60 kobo per kilowatt? 15 naira 60 kobo.
Why are you talking like this?
It's the fact.
When you people are using your GSM and loading phone, how much do they charge you per this day? Is it not from the light you used to charge the phone? Is it not from light you iron? Is it not from light? We are trying our best. We are trying our best. Yes.
Okay,
it was supposed to be higher than that. We took more for people like you.
Okay,
and we've tried our best. You should. What I expected that you would do
is the minimum wage? What is the minimum wage that is making you increase tariff? And this would have been even. I'm sure Nigerians wouldn't have minded if this light is even there. But the light is not there, and you are increasing the tariff. It is not fair.
After the cost of production,
what are you producing? You are producing something that people don't get.
And the cost of the transportation to transport that light from from the dams. The dams are far.
At this rate, are we going to start importing light as well?
No,
because even though we produce crude oil, we still import fuel. So are you saying now that we will soon start importing light?
Not exactly. Though the possibilities can be there because we need more refined lights. People have been complaining that we give them low current. One man came to the office the other time. He wanted to drag us to to court. In fact, they brought the court injunction. But I think they are joking. They say this is a problem that will cause it. There is no current. You can't see where. But that is not it. We try to carry everybody along. So if you have no current, if you use stabilizer or you come and see us, we can, step it up. The dam is far. It's far.
Okay, let's even remove all this tariff issue. Let's even go. What is estimated billing? You cannot. There are people who do not use the prepaid meters. There are people who still use the normal,
the prepaid meter. The prepaid meter is like a miracle. Because it's giving everybody.
But even the prepaid meter, a lot of people are complaining that the rate at which it goes, maybe there's some fraudulent activity going on, because you buy 5,000 in 1 week and there's no light. Before you check it out, it's almost gone.
Ask them what they put on in the house. That is the miracle we are using. We are cutting them now. You will not understand.
What can you put on when there's no light?
Light comes at night at times when you are asleep, because when we work.
Sometimes following your heart takes a lot of sacrifice. Protecting your heart even takes a greater sacrifice of denying yourself the little pleasure. But the good news is, you can protect your heart without denying yourself the little pleasures of mouth-watering and tasty meals with Grand Pure Soya Oil. Grand Pure Soya Oil is made with high-quality soya beans rich in vitamin A and contains no cholesterol. So go ahead and eat to your heart's desire. Grand Pure Soya Oil is endorsed by the Nigerian Heart Foundation as the heart-friendly oil and now comes in a brand new bottle. Grand Pure Soya Oil, the heart-friendly oil.
All right, you're welcome. This is the Ask Uncle Tia segment of UAC Laugh Hour. Right, is a comedy program, but with a lot of education in it. That's why we are called the #1 edutainment show. Okay, thanks for your emails, thanks for your messages on Facebook. Yes, a lot of people have always been writing every week. I'd like to say a special thank you to all of you who make it a point of duty to say a word at least every week on USC Laugh Hour on our Facebook page. And if you've not joined in, come on, tune in. It's www.facebook.com/. right there on your screen. Let me pick out a couple of messages. Let's see what people are saying. Well, this one is from Oshoname Benjamin. It says, TA, I have a friend who always snore and I hate it. I don't sleep and this always pisses me off and I can't send him away because of friendship's sake right now. What do I right now I don't know what to do. Your friend snores. You can't send him away because of friendship. Let me see. You know what you do? I think you should engage yourself in some very strenuous activities during the day that will make you sleep earlier than him. So when you are very tired and you sleep earlier than him and you start your own, before he starts his own, then he will know that it is not good. Then when he now complains about it, he will now say, he's the one that inspired you. So you people will try to find a way to stop it. But on a serious note, I wish you the best of luck. Baba Wale Saliu from Facebook also say, hi guys, you guys are too much with the way you entertain and educate with your comedy. Please, Uncle T.A., one MCRB with the way he holds the marijuana, because if the chairman catch him for his abete, he go crush him bone like chicken bone. So you two, you know the chairman of those people. Well, I will want MCRB for you. Don't worry, MCRB is a novice. He's a virgin in that territory. It was just all acting. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we come to the end of UAC Laugh Hour for this week. Thanks for watching. Good night.
NTA, you can't be Deutsch.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with, oh yeah, make me go. Go to social, let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh get roller. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Kung Fu Festival is coming to Lagos, Nigeria this April 2018. To become a Kung Fu superstar, register to participate by visiting www.startimes.com.ng/Kung Fu. Third prize 350,000 naira, second prize 700,000 naira, and the first prize 1 million naira, and loads of consolation prizes like 55 inches smart TV and start.
The investors were speaking at the 12th annual general meeting of Transcorp held in Lagos. Jane Ojoko tells us more.
Transcorp posted an impressive financial statement for the December 2017 year ended, which highlighted strong revenue increase for the group and its subsidiaries.
Key drivers are power business, our hospitality business, and our ability to kind of like maintain our costs and streamline it to make sure that we're not overshooting it.
We have already started on a very good footing this year. Our first quarter result, we were over 61% in terms of our revenue growth, and we're also hoping to achieve more than that as the year eventually ramps up.
The breakdown of the financial statement shows a gross earning of 80.3 billion naira for the group and 5 billion naira for the company, a 102% increase from the previous year. The gross total assets grew by 23% to stand at 285.5 billion naira. The icing on the cake was the profit before taxation, which grew by 308% to stand at 12.3 billion naira. A remarkable feat given the loss position posted last year. This and the 10 kobo dividend declared at the meeting triggered excitement among the shareholders.
With this dividend now in place, and with also a profit now in place, Transcorp is poised to continually pay dividend to shareholders in the next coming year.
If you look at the power generation of the company, last year it was only 505 megawatts, but this year they were able to increase it to 701 megawatts.
Transcore Nigeria PLC is a key player in the power, agriculture and hospitality sectors of the economy. In Lagos, Jane Ojukwu, NTA News.
You're still watching NTA Network News. More reports ahead when we return after this time out. Stay with us.
This Organization of Nigeria, SON, brings a new lease of life to Nigeria SMEs. SON has put a greater premium on developing standards to improve made in Nigeria products for export. We have developed more standards for products like sesame, cocoa, gari, and more, courtesy of our accredited state-of-the-art laboratories. In keeping with the federal government's ease of doing business, SON has simplified its processes and turned around time for SUNGAP, MANGAP, and other certification processes. SON has intensified market surveillance, raids, and seizures to reduce substandard products in circulation, and offenders shall be prosecuted. Join SON in ridding our nation of substandard products. If you see something, say something. Standards Organization of Nigeria, improving lives through standards.
We promise and we're delivering. This is the second winner of the ticket to Russia. I feel so excited. I can't quantify my happiness. This is one experience that every Super Eagles supporter should experience, and I'm happy I'm one of those guys going to Russia to see the Super Eagles play Croatia and other things in the World Cup. You just start sending those text messages right now so that you can be a part of this. This is real. This is very real. Right down for Russia!
All TVs say picture quality, but never mention the most important color, black. It uncovers the hidden details of nature, brings out the richness in all colors, and reveals life. With self-lighting pixels, only OLED TVs make perfect black, and perfect black creates perfect color. LG OLED TV.
Maybe he's not comfortable in his diaper. New Moonfix Comfort Fix Flexible Side Bags offers freedom of movement. Moonfix, happy today. Not again. We had the same problem. Try new Moonfix. Moonfix absorbs the liquid immediately, even under pressure. Moonfix, happy today, happy tomorrow.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses? They are spread through germs. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking a bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash your hands.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
A future where Nigeria is a leading nation is no longer a dream. With a project that inspires a sense of hope and pride, Nigeria is claiming its place in history with the Oceana, Nigeria's most prestigious community, to live and to invest. Be a part of history by owning a piece of luxury in any of the three schemes. First is the sole ownership scheme, starting from 78.45 million naira, comprising a fully furnished studio apartment or a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. The second is the bonded investment scheme, starting from 5.4 million per lot. Invest with a pool of individuals and own a minimum of 1 lot. And finally, the co-ownership scheme, starting for a minimum of 2.66 million. This allows you as an investor the opportunity to own a property based on the weeks bought, and each owner can use the property for the specified period of time each year. Be a part of history. Join the league of other discerning investors and be guaranteed high returns on investment. Register your interest today. The Oceana, an icon of the nation.
Can you see it?
Thank you, honey, for being such a blessing to me and our family.
Mama, I love you. Mommy, I love you too. Good always happens with Gino. The family's always happy with Gino. The times we have here, good moments we share. Gino truly cares.
You're watching NTA Network News, and we begin the segment with business news. Nigerian equities closed the month in positive trajectory as foreign portfolio investment rise to 381 billion naira in the first quarter of 2018. Vivian Idebefo has the details.
Good evening and welcome to Business News. The Nigerian investment terrain is making positive gains, with portfolio investment leading northwards by 80.9% in the first quarter of 2018 to 381.82 billion naira. A report from the Nigerian Stock Exchange reveals that foreign inflows rose to 206.35 billion naira, while foreign outflows rose to 175.47 billion naira in the quarter under review. This indicates a positive net foreign investment position of 30.9 billion naira. In a related development, the equities market closed the month of April in a positive trajectory. The all-share index gained 0.06% to close at 41,268.01 basis points. Investors traded 450 million shares in 4,699 deals worth 4 billion naira. CI Leasing, Hallmark Insurance and Better Glass topped the gainers chart, while Mutual Benefits, UBA and FBN Holdings were the most sought after shares. Top on the losers chart were Regal Insurance, Eternal Oil and Dangote Flour. Still talking investment, Nigeria had investment announcement worth $17.88 billion in the first quarter of 2018. This amount is 3 times higher than $6.38 billion announced in the same quarter in 2017. The Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission says the announcements cut across 32 projects in 8 states. Well, that's our bit at this time. The rest of the bulletin continues in just a moment.
Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Ibe Kachiko has commended the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board for embarking on projects that will promote steady growth of local content in Nigeria. Kachiko made the commendation during the groundbreaking ceremony of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Park in Bayelsa State. Vera John reports.
Bayelsa State is a home to oil and gas resources. The siting of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Park as the Emeya 1 Inogba local government area of the state is therefore strategic in the desired socio-economic impact. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Ibe Kachiko, who lauded the efforts of the NCDMB, noted that the project will attract foreign investors, thereby increasing the volume of socio-economic activities in the state and the nation at large.
I'm very proud of what NCDMB is doing, and I congratulate the Executive Secretary for that. But hopefully this is one of the very many things we need to deliver in this productive environment to give us the state of calm and peace that we need for investments to continue to flow.
Bayelsa State Governor, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Kamala Okara, assured the NCDMB of the state government's support, even as the host community pledged cooperation as well.
Industrialization is the way to go. About 3 years ago, in partnership with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, we came up with a state-level industrial policy. And one of the key strands of this policy is that Bayelsa State will be the destination for oil and gas-based industrial activity.
Executive Secretary NCDMB Cindy Rabote reveals that the facility, when completed, will create about 2,000 direct jobs and provide on-the-spot training opportunities for indigenes at the construction and operation stages.
This is just one of those projects that will catalyze us into manufacturing as well as the much desired industrialization in the country. We will have shops where manufacturing concerns will come and incubate themselves. It will have a training facility. It will also have a hostel and accommodation for workers, and it will also have all the facility that you desire in an industrial park will happen here.
High point of the event was the groundbreaking of the facility performed by the minister, who had earlier visited the 17-story building of the NCDMB headquarters to ascertain the level of work done. In Yenegoa, Veira John, NTA News.
In education, the founder and visitor of Elizade University, Ilara Mokin in Ondo State, Chief Michael Adeojo, has empowered Ms. Biola Animashaun, a graduate of the 2017-2018 set of the institution, with a sum of 5 million naira in his Go Higher Business Empowerment Initiative. Chief Adeojo announced this at the second convocation ceremony of the institution. Olubukola Aduo reports.
Chief Michael Adeojo said the institution is poised to training and developing the minds of the students to be self-reliant in future, hence the Go Higher Business Empowerment Initiative to encourage and help young graduates of the school get their businesses established.
We are training our students to be able to achieve their dreams. They can't just multitask or degree. They take out of here.
The acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Theophilus Fadayomi, and other key players in the institution urged the graduates to be courageous and prepare for the new world ahead of them. Graduates from the Departments of Mathematics and Computer Science who graduated with first class and second class support division were offered automatic employment in Benin Electricity Distribution Company, BEDC. High point of the event was the presentation of award and cash prizes to all the outstanding graduates, including the overall best graduating students, Ms. Elizabeth Ajaguna of the Department of Hotel Management and Tourism.
I really studied at night. Then with the help of God, with the help of my parents, with the help of my friends, that was what I did.
I just want to say a very big thank you. Like, I didn't even expect it. Like, I didn't even know it was real.
The school graduated 105 students in total.
The people of LMA in Rivers State have applauded the Archbishop Anglican Communion of the Niger Delta North, Most Reverend Ignatius Kate, for his commitment to the work of God. Robinson Daratide reports.
His Royal Highness King Apollos II said, Most Reverend Ignatius Kate is one of the few indigenes of Eleme that has raised the flag of the kingdom and rebranded the image of the people beyond the boundaries of Nigeria. While commending the Archbishop for the height attained in the Anglican Communion and the voluntary services of the Church in his kingdom, he noted that one of the viable means through which traditional values and customs could be preserved and promoted is when the Church begins to organize programs in the local language of the people, given the influence of the clergy.
In your midweek prayers, one only in the Sunday service, you should have a program where you can call, if it's a randomly, you say, you come and read or come and talk in a living language, promote our language for us.
Archbishop Ignatius Kate noted that his visit to the Royal Father was part of activities marking his retirement from active service. He commended the king for his support to the church and the innovation he brought to the traditional stool in Eleme.
You are innovative. You have made a name by doing this. You have made a name, and I want to thank God for your life.
Archbishop Kate became a pastor in 1986, elected a bishop in 2000, archbishop in 2003, and the dean of Church of Anglican Communion in 2013. From Eleme River State, Robinson Deratede, NTA News.
We'll take another break now and be back shortly. Stay with us.
Expected gains of the International Conference on Cross-Border Crime for Secured Environment to Guarantee Growth is the focus this week on NTA Tuesday Live. The program promises to be incisive and educative. Don't miss it.
And Niger Mom Powerful.
I trust the power of Dettol's 1 capful for bathing. The power of Dettol's 1 capful protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Be 100% sure.
From our wonderful family, meet Patty for celebrating the high points of life with friends. And then there's me, Jolly, bringing nourishment to every gathering. Packed with healthy nutrition, nourishing vitamins, power of protein, strength of calcium, revitalizing energy. Hollandia yogurt is bursting with goodness inside and out. Hollandia yogurt. It's all good.
Experience, they say, is the best teacher.
They hold us from the sea. Thank God that we came back home. They should not go there because it's not good. It's a very bad place. So they just my advice. Even now, so if they are shooting the boat they are going to use to go Italy, let them stop it. Our country is good. Our country is a blessed country. Now I know our country is a blessed country. I know before I for not travel from Nigeria to Libya. I know how much I spent.
Let these personal experiences serve as a lesson to all who would repeat their mistakes. A word is enough for the wise.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Sports update is next with Dendi Sani.
Seaside Babes of Lagos continue their impressive run on day 4 of the ongoing Nigeria Premier Handball League by defeating Imo Grasshoppers 30-23 goals in round-robin matches being decided at the Gymnasium and Outdoor Courts Package B of the Abuja National Stadium. In some other matches, Owena Kings lost 24-26 goals to Lagos Seasiders in the male category. As the President, Handball Federation of Nigeria, Sam Ochero, says more grassroots tournaments will be organized throughout the country in a bid to further develop the sport.
The more we keep organizing such, the more we see younger players come through the rank. I think for me that is my expectation.
In table tennis, Nigeria continued on a winning note at the ongoing Leibhardt 2018 World Team Table Tennis Championships after Aruna Quadri beat Cifuentes Horacios in 3 sets to earn Nigeria a 3-1 overall victory over Argentina. Quadri had earlier beaten Auto Gaston 3-0, while Omotayo Olajide also defeated Galvano Nicolas by 3 sets to 2. The only match Team Nigeria lost on day 2 was Segun Torila's defeat to Cifuentes Horacios in the first game of the day. Nigeria next face Slovakia on Tuesday. In the UEFA Champions League, defending champions Real Madrid will be hoping to complement their 2-1 first leg away victory against former champions Bayern Munich when both sides clashed Tuesday for the second leg of the UEFA Champions League semi-final encounter. Real Madrid coach Zinedine Zidane says his side must score early to avoid the scare they got from Juventus during the quarter-final second leg game. Meanwhile, Liverpool will be at the Stadio Olimpico aiming to consolidate upon their 5-2 first leg victory against AS Roma and also make a return to the Champions League final since 2005. With Sport Update, Dendi Sani, NTA News.
And that's it on the Network News tonight. I am Sheung Olagunju. Thank you for watching.
Oga, open your water tank.
Hold on, please. Let me calm down.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hope you've worked of your meeting.
Oh, Oga, we no longer tamper with our coal dispense meter because it is cheating and corruption. I will always sell coal to all customers at the correct amount because change begins with me.
Nice one.
Yes, sir. How much, Oga?
Fill up.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The report where they reach us talk says something.
You don't do. I don't tire for all the things where you do.
You not done it right.
You the yarn of patter. Sure you think say now only you feel booga. I go show you.
This matter don't pass, be careful.
You dey show yourself all these years. I just dey look you. This time you go know the kind of person where
I've been the watch as you dey try scatter my future. The future where I dey try organize for myself. So small. Now you dey try kill abi?
Not to kill, scatter, and destroy my power is always the agenda, abi? Oh, but you know, Fito, not this time.
I don't set my own agenda. I know how well your agenda go fit past my agenda.
Because my agenda is strong past your agenda.
For this election, the agenda now. It's our future.
No violence.
Just vote.
set the agenda for this election. No violence, just vote.
And I remember from March, where all of us come outside call vote, we vote for people where we say they go represent us for inside government. Where? So vote, others do election observers, some serve the polling officers. But it never finish. Make we come together, arrange or join association where we go fit discuss matter where go make we lives better. Go give the people where we vote for inside government. Make we get involved.
So make you drink the sense. I don't go beat us. Charge up with that, don't go beat that. Don't go beat that. Guys, have a drink where your body needs. I don't feel the taste. Enjoy the taste, I don't go beat that. Feel the giddy power. I don't go beat that. I say your body go tranga. Bam bam. Yes, I say your system go wake up. Bam bam.
I don't go alcoholic bitters. Now correct herbal ingredients and take make them to help body tranga. Make you drink them with sense.
Hold it! Me! I don't come out my hand from oil concrete.
General, what you gonna yarn? What did the yarn serve? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants say,
You know good.
me! I not do again Sam.
Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
That's different. Drink to wellness. Drink I don't go bitters. I don't go bitters. Not just any bitters, but I don't go bitters. Drink I don't go bitters. I say I don't go bitters. The bitters with the mandate to promote well-being. Yeah, I don't go bitters. I don't go bitters.
I don't go alcoholic bitters made from herbal extracts for well-being. Drink responsibly.
As usual. You have no problem. You are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome.
You take that one.
You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cooking.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Here's to the dreamers, the doers, the ones who feel everything but fear nothing, to those who stride with courage in their hearts and victory in their souls. Here's to you. Here's to progress. Your progress. Keep walking.
Thrift collection has been an age-long medium of saving among people.
It's very good for trader.
However, not everybody is honest, and some have been known to run away with other people's sweats.
I promise you, when you join me, Sir Fred, is your cooperative by force.
How careful can people be about entrusting their money to dubious Osusu collectors?
What do you mean by pack? Pack to the motor park or pack to where? What are you talking about? Wait! I am the highest investor here.
Your rib-cracking comedy, Professor John Bull, this week takes a comic look at the issues surrounding Osusu contribution and collection in this episode titled Osusu Contribution.
This is Osusu Morias.
I feel soporific and Pablo. Join us and laugh like never before.
Mr. Madoya, I believe that's your name. Go on. What is that your question? I don't forget the question.
Easy. Over and out. Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Here's to the dreamers, the doers, the ones who feel everything but fear nothing. To those who stride with courage in their hearts and victory in their souls. Here's to you. Here's to progress. Your progress. Keep walking.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, has described as false media reports that the Saudi authority is threatening to ban Nigerian pilgrims from participating in the 2018 Hajj.
It's an absolute misinformation.
Speaking with journalists in Abuja after a stakeholders meeting on Lassa fever, NACON chairman Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar said the Saudi government is only taking precautionary measures against any outbreak of Lassa fever, which the Nigerian government is also supporting to ensure that no pilgrim goes into the kingdom without passing through medical checks.
There is nobody and no communication that pilgrims will be banned from performing Hajj. So there is nothing like that. It's an absolute misinformation where we don't know where it comes from. But what the Saudi Ministry of Health transmitted to its agencies is to take precautionary measure, and that is also what Nigeria is doing. And the most important thing here is that it's no longer an epidemic. So Nigeria is no longer under any danger or threat of the Lassa fever.
The NACON chairman appreciated all stakeholders who are making efforts in ensuring that Nigerian pilgrims perform the 2018 Hajj without hitches. In efforts to ensure that no pilgrim is left out during the Enlightenment Campaign exercise, the Borno State Muslims Pilgrim Board has paid courtesy visit to the emirs of Biu, Alhaji Umar Mustafa, and that of Shani, Alhaji Nasiru Muhammad Meilafia, at their palaces respectively. The executive secretary of the board, Balam Ahmad Abubakar, led other officials during the visits. Malam Abubakar informed the emirs that the visit was to extend the Enlightenment program, which started a few weeks ago. In their separate remarks, the emirs expressed happiness with the development and urged intending pilgrims in their domain to take advantage of the extension, and also advised them to abide by Hajj guidelines and conduct themselves well while in the Holy Land. They called on NACON to consider Borno State as one of the centers for biometric capturing in the Northeast Zone. The management of Pilgrims Preachers Association of Nigeria has commended the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, and the State Pilgrims Board for their efforts in ensuring that this year's Hajj fare is significantly reduced. A statement by the national chairman of the association, Dr. Muhammad Adam Abubakar, urged intending pilgrims to comply with registration guidelines to enable NACON and the State Pilgrims Board to make proper Hajj preparations. Kwara State Muslim Pilgrims Board says it hopes to register over 2,000 pilgrims from the state. Executive Secretary of the board, Mohammed Tunde Jimo, stated this while speaking with journalists in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, during a special prayer for the successful conduct of the 2018 Hajj. Mohammed Tunde said the board has concluded arrangements on the accommodation of intending pilgrims in Mecca, urging intended pilgrims to be good ambassadors of Nigeria during the Hajj. The Executive Secretary pointed out that the law banning pregnant women from performing Hajj is still in force and warned pregnant women not to register for the Hajj because they will be disqualified.
Protecting pilgrims from infectious diseases before and during the Hajj is taken seriously by both the federal government of Nigeria and the Saudi Arabian authorities. While coming up with reforms on health-related matters in the course of Hajj or Umrah, the Nigerian government is also ensuring full compliance with all Saudi health requirements and recommendations. These requirements, among others, are to vaccinate pilgrims against yellow fever, to administer oral vaccines against polio to pilgrims, as well as to establish well-coordinated medical centers in Saudi Arabia under the national medical team. Since the adoption of these measures, there has not been any case of contagious disease involving Nigerian pilgrims. However, recent media reports on Lassa fever cases in Nigeria raised international concern about a possible epidemic, prompting Saudi Arabia to be alarmed about Nigerian pilgrims coming in for the Hajj. Apparently worried by this disturbing development, stakeholders on health and Hajj matters held a meeting at the conference hall of the office for the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The aim is to come up with a clear understanding of the Lassa fever outbreak in the country. This was on Tuesday, the 24th of April, 2018. In attendance were all commissioners of health from the 36 states of the Federation, executive secretaries of state pilgrims boards, Minister of Health, and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Others are Minister of Aviation, Aviation Regulation Agencies, and federal lawmakers.
We want you to wipe out Lassa fever. And they started working.
Addressing the meeting, the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Folorunsho Adewole, expressed confidence that Nigeria is on the verge of being declared Lassa fever free, saying that Nigeria does not constitute a global threat to any nation due to isolated cases of Lassa fever.
And what we have seen since January is that because of what we've done, the disease is going on the downward trend for the last 8 weeks. So that every week we update our data. And I must also inform you that one of the strong points of the present administration is that we do not tell lies. So every Wednesday, Mr. President is briefed about what is happening in Nigeria, about the state of the public health. Every week, we'll send the report to Federal Executive Council. And so Mr. President knows every cabinet member gets a report as to what is happening. And we can tell you that in the last 1 week, only one case occurred in Nigeria. That shows that it is this, almost getting to zero, such that by tomorrow, we're in a position to declare this outbreak over in Nigeria. And that is why I said, I'm looking for just one slide, and this is the slide, to show you that it is going down to zero.
Professor Isaac disclosed that 400 health workers have been trained on disease surveillance and quick response as part of efforts to contain any outbreak.
We call them disease surveillance. And this program is in many African countries, but Nigeria is in the lead. At the last count, we've trained over 400 of these disease surveillance. They are like inspectors, detectives. Their job is to move around. We've posted them to the states. They work in the local government, and their job is to sniff around. Are there infections here? Even when there are no infections, their job is to pick unusual death. We want to find out what is responsible for this, because the earlier we can pick this infection or disease, the better for us as a nation. As regards those who are going to Hajj, our medical team will also continue to test. Anybody with fever, we will find out. I hope it is not Lassa. But as I said, this country is a population of 180 million people, minimum. So if there was only one case last week, we must commend ourselves. And we must not report ourselves negatively. One person out of 180 million is an excellent performance.
Another strategy adopted by Nigerian government to combat Lassa fever is through the engagement of communities at the grassroots.
In 2017, we constituted a task team to say, look, this thing cannot be putting us to shame. Go to the community and find out why are we still having Lassa fever. And a committee of experts went around the country, what is happening? And they identified some of the problems. Inadequacy of the laboratories, inability to make the diagnosis on time, healthcare workers assuming that, oh, there is no problem. The lesson from what we've heard is that we must remain vigilant. And that is what we must take away from here. We must remain vigilant. We now have a strong health system. We have established a Nigerian Center for Disease Control, and we are happy that one of the decisions taken by Federal Executive Council is to pass the law setting up the Nigerian Center for Disease Control. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control is like the US Center for Disease Control. That is like our fighting arm, to be looking for infection and killing it before it becomes a problem. And the logo or the motto of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control is keeping Nigerians safe.
The minister said that the policy of government is to ensure that all intending pilgrims are carefully screened before embarking on the pilgrimage.
With regards to Lassa fever,
NACON Chairman Barrister Abdullahi Mukhtar Muhammad explained the rationale for the stakeholders meeting.
As we are all aware, of recent, there have been media reports with regards to Lassa fever in Nigeria. That drew the attention of the Saudi Ministry of Health. And in their own wisdom, they map out strategies and procedure that will serve as a precautionary step in ensuring that any pilgrim or traveler from Nigeria for the purpose of Hajj or Umrah into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia did not in any way travel with anything that would cause the transmission or infection of this fever to other members of international community that will be in Saudi for the purpose of Hajj or Umrah. This precautionary step intended to be taken by the Saudi Ministry of Health with the support of their various agencies at the entry points is a matter of concern to all of us, that as a nation and as the Hajj managers of our country and the Commission as the regulatory body for Hajj and Umrah, we have to do whatever it takes to complement the effort of the Saudis in ensuring that all travelers for Hajj or Umrah are free of anything that has to do with Lassa fever.
He assured intending pilgrims of government's commitment to facilitate a hitch-free Hajj.
I want to use this opportunity to assure all pilgrims traveling for this year's Hajj and those going to Umrah that nobody will prevent them from performing their religious obligation. We will take all the necessary measures to make sure that we comply with all international acceptable medical best practices. I also want to assure our brothers in Saudi that we will not allow any of our pilgrims to endanger the life of other people that will be coming for Hajj or Umrah. We understand their fear and we will work together to address that.
What we are trying to do is anybody that will have any index of...
In his presentation, head of Nakan medical team, Dr. Ibrahim Kana, unveiled plans to contain any threat of Lassa fever during this year's Hajj.
To prepare health professionals, the national medical team intends to perform or to conduct sensitization and response workshop for all, emphasis here, for all health professionals participating in the 2018 Hajj on Lassa. Indeed, the minister has given a directive to work with the Nigerian Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization, which we are already engaging, and we are working on that. We owe our pilgrims 3 obligations, ladies and gentlemen. 1, to ensure that only non-infected pilgrims embark on this journey. 2, we must ensure that Nigerian pilgrims are safe from Lassa fever during the operations of Hajj. And thirdly, to ensure that no Nigerian acquires any infection during Hajj. We cannot only be looking at, as we are moving, we must also think about how the pilgrims are coming back.
Dr. Kana further disclosed plans by the medical team to screen all intending pilgrims.
The Federal Ministry of Health also is developing a screening form like we did during the Ebola. What we did during the Ebola is we collaborated very closely with WHO HQ, WHO EMRO, and also WHO Nigeria, as well as the WHO Saudi. We designed a form, and that gave the Saudis plenty of confidence that the Nigerian government is doing something. I'll have shared with us a picture of that form, which we are also going to do this year. For any pilgrim to actually board any aircraft, he must have been properly screened and given that certificate, so that on arrival, that will be the agreement that we'll have between the Nigerian Ministry of Health and the Saudi Ministry of Health. On arrival at the airport in Jeddah or Medina, you must actually carry that card. That card is a certification that, yes, you have been properly screened, and we are sure you are not a potential of transmitting Lassa fever.
Other stakeholders at the event also contributed to the discussions on the issue.
That please, I know you're doing your best always to sensitize them, the pilgrims, on what to do and what not to do. Now, this is a serious allegation that the Saudi Arabian government has come out blatantly and said that Lassa fever is a disease in Nigeria, therefore it has to be contained before Hajj.
I believe that the executive from this side will be able to have detailed discussions with Saudi people to let them know either the level or none Lassa fever in this country. And also, in your screening of our pilgrims, we should advise them of what to carry with them when they are going to Saudi Arabia.
In addition to what the distinguished senator has said, I will just want to assure the participants that the National Assembly, especially the House of Reps, will always give the maximum support to Nigeria Hajj Commission and the government of Nigeria in carrying out all activities that will ease the suffering of our pilgrims.
I want to assure this gathering that as Commissioners of Health, we are going to do everything possible to ensure that we have successful 2018 pilgrimage. A lot has been said, a lot of presentations have been made, and the progress of the country has been presented in terms of control of Lassa fever. A lot is being done at the level of the states. We've been working in collaboration with Federal Ministry of Health to ensure that our states control Lassa fever.
We wish to assure the Honorable Minister and the leadership of the National Hajj Commission that inshallah there will be zero Lassa fever as far as 2018 Hajj is concerned. In the side of the airports, the carriers, I'm assuring them that we will give them 100% support as far as the screening of our intending pilgrims is concerned. Aircraft to be used for Hajj operations are to carry adequate first aid and universal precaution kits for the handling of possible cases of communicable diseases on board, as stipulated in the Nigeria Civil Regulations, parts 7.9.1.11 and .12. These we've discussed with the airlines at the meeting earlier today. They've agreed to do that. We also agreed that airlines are to develop general guidelines for passenger agents, airline operations staff, flight deck and cabin crew in the handling and reporting of possible communicable diseases on board. This is in line with ICAO and IATA provisions.
On Hajj Talk tonight, we focus on the three types of Hajj, namely Hajj Tamattu, Hajj Ifrad and Hajj Qiran.
Decide which of the three ways.
Sheikh Ahmed Abubakar Lemu is our guide. He begins by talking about what intending pilgrims are expected to do as they embark on Hajj.
Let him learn about each of the three ways of performing Hajj, and then make up his mind which way he prefers to choose, so that before the day of the journey, he has learnt and mastered from A to Z how the Hajj of the way he has chosen, of the procedure, of the manner he has chosen, is performed.
The pilgrims are expected to declare intention at the Miqat. What then is the Miqat?
The place prescribed by Prophet Muhammad for the people of the various 4 parts of the world: East, West, North, South. Which particular place or town or spot was recommended by Prophet Muhammad to be the place to make the intention for Hajj.
For those who chose to perform Hajj Tamattu, they are to combine Umrah with Hajj. But after performing the Umrah, they remove their Ihram and then wear it again on the 8th of Zulhijjah for the Hajj.
So Umrah comprises making the intention Ihram, Tawaf, and the walk between Safa and Marwa, 7 trips. And of course each one with its own rule, like the haircut after the walk. You can then remove this and enter your ordinary civilian clothes and enjoy yourself up to 8th day of the month of Zulhijjah. On that day, even in his lodging in Makkah city or wherever it is, he takes the Ihram bath, then make the formal intention, Labbaik Allahumma bil Hajj. Then you depart with your colleagues and so forth to Mana for encampment.
The other option for pilgrims is Hajj Qiran. This is combining Hajj and Umrah without removing the Ihram after performing Umrah.
The Hajj al-Qiran, that is simultaneously, even from where you are going to make the intention, which is called Ihram, you will make the intention of performing Umrah and Hajj in that order. mention Umrah first, then Hajj. Allah, whether it's in Arabic, whether it's in your mother tongue, it's all the same. Then you continue with Talbiyah up to when you reach Makkah and do the Tawaf. That Tawaf is neither for Umrah nor for Hajj proper. It is called Tawaf al-Qudum, Tawaf on arrival. But this Sa'i that you will do on that day of arrival to follow this Tawaf is the Sa'i for both Umrah and the Hajj proper.
Then there is the Ifrad. In this type of Hajj, pilgrims declare intention to perform Hajj only, without Umrah.
If it is single Hajj, you understand? Right from where you will enter your clothes for Ihram, making the intention for Hajj, you will make the intention of Hajj, Labbaik Allahumma bil Hajj. You will not come out of Ihram up to the 10th of the Hijjah, when you will have finished throwing the pebbles.
In all of these, pilgrims must observe the rite of staying at the plains of Mina, Arafat and Muzdalifah. They must also pelt the Jamra, as well as Qurban of animal sacrifice. But for those who perform Ifrad, animal sacrifice is not required.
It is the same rule up to moving to Mina, up to they do the same thing, up to Arafat, it is the same thing. Return from Arafat, throwing the pebbles on the 10th, on the 11th, on the 12th, everything the same, up to when they come back to Makkah.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Welcome to Power Links. I am Bolale Oluchi Babalola. If you have been following this program, in last week's edition, we brought you updates on the completion of balance of distribution projects across the country, and which the NIPP plans to officially inaugurate in a bid to consolidate the key role of enhancing the capacity of infrastructure that connects consumers directly with the supply of electricity. For a reminder, these are the stations. Welcome back. Now, there is also the good news of transmission value chain. Since assuming office, the management of NDPHC has set the priority of overcoming the challenges of ensuring that high-capacity transmission projects are completed and delivered to the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, in compliance with regulations governing the sector. There are locations to buttress the commitments to project's completion. In Lagos, the Ajaleki-Alagbon upgrade from 132 kV to 330 kV double circuit line has been completed and energized. Similarly, in Asaba Axis, the line taking supply to Benin and Onitsha is completed and energized. There are more of the completed projects. By way of summary, NDPHC has 112 high voltage transmission projects comprising 1,635 kilometers of 330 double circuit lines, 720 kilometers of 132 kV double circuit lines, and 7 132 kV substations. Increased transmission capacity by 6,150 MVA of 330, 132, and 33 kV transformers. Increased 2,800 kV of 132, 33 kV transformers, and expansion of 36 330 kV and 132 kV TCN substations.
Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited is incorporated under the Companies and Allied Matters Act as a private limited liability company fully subscribed to by federal, state and local governments with a mandate to manage the power projects tagged National Integrated Power Projects, NIPP, an intervention scheme to tackle deficit power infrastructure, thereby increasing capacity across the trade value chain.
A lot of projects have been done. When we came in, the mandate we have, clear mandate, is to provide power to Nigerians. That's the clear mandate we have. So how do we provide this power to Nigerians? One, we have to complete the existing projects. Okay, again, projects were done, but there were so many projects outstanding to be done. In transmission, a lot outstanding. In distribution, a lot outstanding. In generation, we had the design is 10 power plants. We have 2 uncompleted, completely uncompleted. We have 2 again, partially completed. So our mandates to provide power to Nigerians. To do that, we have to complete these projects, and we are focusing on them. We are pursuing them vigorously. We're also working towards ensuring that those not connected to the grid, the underserved rural communities, we're also able to bring power to them. Small communities, we're also doing 20,000 solar home units. The Vice President commissioned recently. We've done a community. We're receiving consignment now for the rest of the communities. We are working on that as well. So that is part of the mandate again, to bring power to Nigerians, electric power to Nigerians. Then we're also trying, working at the existing generation stations, because NIPP was set up as a project.
The new problem now is that we are managing the operation of the turbines, curtailing them from running to full speed because there is not enough demand at the distribution end to take all the power. So that's a new problem to have, from no power to increased power, and that we can't sell. With the same results being seen in many of the other generation companies, what we now have as a country is that our power production has reached an all-time high of over 7,000 megawatts. This was not where we were in January. So it means that our policies are working, it means that our programs are working, and we are also now able to evacuate substantially all of that power by transmission. So TCN has also done its part, moving as much of the power and improving and completing its project.
Now, the Ikot Iyang village in Ikot Epene local government area of Akwa Ibom is an important community like other locations in parts of Nigeria, hosting the National Integrated Power Project Infrastructure Switching Station. The primary function of the station is electricity evacuation from power plants in Alaoji, Afam, Calabar, and Ikot Abasi, and routes same to Ugwaji in Enugu up to Jos of Plateau State through Makodi and Lafia, which substation is under construction by the NIPP.
On the sidelines of the 25th monthly meeting by operators in the power sector, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, Chiedu Ubo, led a technical team to monitor performance of the switching center in line with the extant rules by the company in managing its assets on behalf of Nigerians. The facility is part of the initiative of solving the problem of stranded power at the generating plants. Engineer Isong Okerere, Station Supervisor, Ikorekpene Transmission Switching Station, takes the Managing Director and his team round the facility, saying government deserves commendation for inaugurating the project.
ASCON. 4 to ASCON. That's what they label. ASCON 1, ASCON 2. Okay, bomb power.
This is bomb power. This one is.
This is bomb power. This is bomb power. These two are supposed to be bomb power. These two to ASCON.
What of the bay for?
No, for 330 kV.
You will come here at
This is 330 kV.
On his part, Managing Director Chiedu Ubu, while appreciating management of the switching station, urges the engineering team to do more by ensuring the highest standards of best practices in running the station.
Get now. Get 1 and 2, the line bay. Then this is the spare here.
Where's the line bay?
Yes. 1, 2.
Spare. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
This is spare.
So we have room to accommodate QIPP.
No, QIPP. Black Rhino. Because this ASCON, this ASCON does not have.
ASCON is coming at 132 now.
Yes, like I said.
And they have solution for them for 330 and 132.
ASCON doesn't have it.
From the axis of Ikorekpene, the Managing Director and the team went to Abak to monitor progress on another important ongoing project, the 330/132 kV transmission substation. The station is supported by 150 MVA transformers with expectations of adding value of increased power supply to industries in the area. Chiedu Ubo expresses the commitment of government towards working with the contractor to complete the project. He also appreciates the support of the community to the project. In addition to the bigger project for power evacuation, the NIPP has completed many distribution projects that are in service and impacting on supply.
This is the next port station for these power plants, from where the power will be evacuated to a Kotekpene switching station and then to the rest of the grid. So that's what this project is all about. It's a construction development that NIPP has been on, and then we are awaiting the coming of this power plants one, and then we are waiting for the line as well. We're also constructing the line. We've resolved the issues with the contractors. We have 2 contractors on the line from Ikoda Basi here to Ikotekpene. It's about 84 kilometers thereabouts lines. The contractors have different sections. Our hope and our determination is to complete the lines in 12 months. So we're working on that now. Although we have community issues, well-lived issues, His Excellency the Governor has graciously assisted us so much to resolve these well-lived issues. This is a massive project. A lot of money has been sunk in here to reclaim the land and to reinforce again the land because of environmental and erosion issues. A lot of money has been spent here. We're also spending a lot of money on the lines. Yes, we could, but that is if the market doesn't improve, because the top-up, so to speak, is coming from internally generated revenue. But we have sufficient amount in the RCs for the lines for now. We will need some extra fund.
Signs that we used to know if I was buying fake or not.
Okay. Now, this is the batch now.
It's on the...
When you look at it, this is L.
Okay.
974W.
Yeah.
Yeah. 974W. That's the batch number of it.
While he was saying all of that, you know, all that was going through my mind was how many lives have been ruined by cough syrup with codeine. The same product that this guy was selling to me, knowing full well that I was going to potentially distribute this to university students, to children who have been sent to school to learn.
But hence I released to you. You started from the oven. It's an oven bed.
It's an oven bed. Fresh.
It's an oven bed.
Freshly baked.
Look at it's sealed. It's sealed with Let me tell you one thing. This is like an addict. When somebody is addicted to something, she gets and he needs it. Your price, I don't think is an issue. And when the person knows that he gets the best quality, you go from him.
Yeah, I get the cash, Jerry. The fact that he knew that this was addictive, he actually told me himself about how addictive the product is. He had no qualm selling a carton of 60 bottles to me.
It's not true.
It's complete, are we?
Is it?
Yeah. After this meeting with this gentleman, it was clear to us that Emzo Pharmaceuticals is leaking cough syrup with codeine. You know, and it's leaking that directly to the underworld and fueling addiction on the streets of Nigeria.
Go and do exploits. Yes. Yes. Yeah. You understand? Let me tell you one thing about the business. I'm a core business person. It was something that would benefit him. Yeah. And at the same time benefit you. We are working on trust.
And of course, he's been calling me ever since then. I mean, he started calling me 4 or 5 days after making that drop off because he wanted more money.
Adejuwon poured the Emzo syrup down into the Lagos sewer. We didn't want it to end up on the black market or in the hands of an addict. Emzo Pharmaceuticals told us it's investigating Mr. Madubike, adding he has access to a very limited amount of Emzoline with codeine and could not possibly sell large quantities illegally. The company says it is a responsible and compliant business, is reviewing distribution policies and treating our findings with the utmost seriousness. Mr. Pascal and Stella Charles Pharmacy did not respond to us.
This, that the evidence say people they sell codeine products without prescription. And as we don't gather this evidence now, our only hope is say this our wahala no go be for nothing. Say government go wake up. Say pharmaceutical industry go wake up. Say pharmacists within Nigeria and all over Africa go wake up and go make sure say this kind thing no go dey happen again. To make sure say young people know they get access to this kind thing for the street. Because now this kind thing they destroy their life.
(1,100 kilometers north of Lagos in Kano, the volume of cough syrup leaking out of pharmaceutical companies and onto the black market is clear. The head of the Drug Enforcement Agency in the city, Commander Hamza Umar, showed me his storage rooms, where drugs seized from criminals are kept.
Going inside the main store where this exhibit are kept, right inside you can see.
Wow. Inside the store is a mountain of drugs, cocaine, heroin, weed, but also thousands of bottles of cough syrup intended for the streets. It's hidden in rice sacks, bags, and even wedding gifts.
Everything you see here is codeine. Everything. Let me raise some of this glass. You can see them many.
You can hear the sound of the bottle.
You can hear the sound. You can hear the bottles. All is codeine. If you like, you can look at the heavy ones. All is codeine. You can see these ones, they are white.
That's 25
all
kilograms.
Is codeine, but too heavy. It's more than that.
Yeah.
You can hear the way it sounds. All is codeine.
It wasn't just sacks. Some of the syrup looked as though it came straight out of the factory.
Now here, you can see we have tons of it.
Just one product?
Just one product and seized from one person.
One person had this?
Yes.
The war against cough syrup in Kano is overwhelming.
This thing is spraying like bushfire in a dry savanna. And we are seeing the rate this thing is moving. We are getting towards a hopeless society. And it costs all class, no matter the level, rich and poor, educated and illiterate, a beggar and a toddler.
But this must be a very huge drain on your resources, on your budget, and even on your men.
It is. And don't forget, this is what we are able to arrest. We may not arrest 10%, considering our capacity, our logistics, and the men.
And to